Hey ladies, what's up? It is Rachel L. Proctor, your mentor for the Finish Strong Mentorship and Accountability Group, and it is time for another Mentor Motivation Monday video. Now, I am so sorry about the lighting in here, y'all. It's not great. I'm in my office, and I normally don't film in here, so it may be a little bit crazy with the lighting, but hopefully you can hear me okay, and that's all that matters, really. But if you are watching this and you are on YouTube and you have no idea what the Finish Strong Accountability Group is or who I am, it is a group that I started to help create a mentorship and a place for accountability for women who are striving to meet certain goals, whether that's to start a business or to write a book or to just get to a better place in life, whatever your goal is. And so it's also to form a sisterhood. So we have a Facebook group that we all are a part of, where we can share things and encourage one another as we pursue our goals, our God-given goals, and to finish this year strong. And so that's what I want to share with you guys today. And so each Monday I do a video that addresses a question that one of the group members has. And so today I had a group member to ask a question in regards to how do you regain control of your emotions when your emotions are controlling your life, whether that is through your interaction with people, through your interaction on your job, or just whatever, because she had gotten to a place to where she is always overreacting and it's starting to impact her relationships in a negative way. Let's see if we can, I don't know guys, that's worse actually. Okay, so let's see, that's a little bit better. So yeah, I want to talk about that, and you are probably getting this video, if you're part of the group, much later than I normally send the videos out. I normally send them out first thing in the morning. I actually had a pretty long weekend, not anything bad, just a really busy weekend, so I got a little bit behind, but I wanted to make sure that I filmed this for you all. So I have some notes that I've been praying over, and I took this morning in regards to this topic of your emotions controlling your life, your emotions or getting control of them, and looking at some of the repercussions and all that stuff that happens when we allow our emotions to control us. So I want you guys to first know, as I'm starting to discuss this, is that our emotions are very much so God-given. So what that means is that our emotions are not good and or bad. And I have a scripture that I looked up, Ephesians 4 verse 26, and it says, "Be angry but do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath." Verse 27 says, "Nor give place to the devil." Verse 31 says, I skipped down a little bit, "Let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice." And so that's where I want to I have a few other little scriptures maybe that I'll interject, but that's the main scripture that I want to talk about. And so our emotions, they are God-given. And so generally the way our emotions surface is going to be based on a reaction to something that has happened or a situation that we're in. And so one of three things can happen when we allow our emotions to affect us or when we're placed in a particular event. So the first thing that can happen is our emotions can be allowed to escalate to the point to where they become destructive to ourselves or to other people. The second thing that can happen is their validity can be denied. And so what I mean by that is, if you've ever been in a situation where maybe you're in a relationship with someone and you're upset about something, but the other person makes you feel like how you feel is not valid or justified, a lot of times their validity and their justification is denied by that other person. And sometimes we can be put in those situations so much to where we're made to feel like we're overreacting or that our position is not valid or justified, to where we can begin to water down or block our emotions, and we can even become emotionless, or we will suppress things because we don't feel like or we believe that when we share how we really feel, it is not taken well or it is not justified by the other person, or we're made to feel foolish for feeling how we feel. So that's the second thing. The third thing is it can actually be directed in a manner that's appropriate and healthy for the situation. So either they can be destructive, or either they can be, our emotions can be denied, their validity can be denied, or either they can actually be directed in a place that is healthy and constructive for the situation. So again, our emotions are not good or bad. They're not one or the other. But the problem lies in the thoughts or the actions or the behavior that results as a result of our emotions. Let me say that again. So the problem with having emotions or going off of your emotions is not the emotions themselves. Like Ephesians 4 and 4:27 says, you can be angry, but sin not. So the problem with our emotions is that our thoughts that develop, or our behavior, and especially our thoughts, because our behavior follows what we think. So the behavior that results as a result of those emotions. So that's where the problem comes in at. So that's what the question was around. So just to kind of bring you up to speed as far as that. And so our emotions, they are generally spontaneous. Again, generally we don't have emotions to surface until we're placed in a particular situation that evokes those emotions. And so again, they're spontaneous and they can dissipate quickly. But what happens is, and where the problem comes in again, is that anything that you nurture and that you feed and that you give attention to is what will grow. So a lot of times when we have these emotional moments, we tend to nurture them and we tend to feed them with our attention and with our thoughts and with our actions and behaviors. And that's why they tend to grow. And the actions that we do tend to be either destructive, generally, and cause problems in our relationships and so forth. And so again, we're talking in the book of Ephesians, and of course, we know that Paul is writing this, and he doesn't condemn you for having anger or for having these emotions. But again, he's indicating that boundaries can be crossed when we are not in control of our emotions and when we're not aware of our emotions and how they can impact us and cause us to act. Okay, so what he's basically asking us to do is to deal with our emotions. When we feel those emotions coming up, chances are it won't be your first time of being angry or feeling treated unfairly, or whatever the emotions are for you right now. But again, he's saying be angry but sin not. Okay, so again, so in Ephesians, and we can kind of keep reading a little bit, Ephesians 4:32, it's challenging you to identify those emotions and learning how to channel them into positive behaviors. And so when you have painful memories or painful situations, it's directing you to give those things to God. And I know that's easier said than done. But again, when we are steady going in the same direction and we're getting the same results, we have to be open. We have to open our minds and open our hearts to a new way of approaching a situation if we want to get new results. If we're tired of having this discourse and these negative discourses and these negative interactions, we've got to get to the root of what is actually causing those things and be honest. Because I know a lot of times for me, my coping mechanism can be that of avoidance. I will try to avoid the situation. If I know that there's something that is upsetting to me or whatnot, I will try to avoid it versus dealing with it. But a lot of times, like Paul is saying here, you cannot just avoid it, but you've got to not give place to the devil. That is when I believe that is verse Ephesians 4:27. It says, neither give place to the devil. And when you meditate, when you try to avoid or suppress these emotions, this anger, this feeling of unjust or whatever, bitterness, whatever it is, you are giving place to the enemy in your mind. You're giving him territory and you're giving him something to work with. And so if you don't deal with those things that have happened to you, if you don't deal with the people that have upset you, and even whether that's letting them know or having a conversation with them or whatever it is for you, then you're giving the enemy fuel. You're giving him ammunition to work with, and what you don't deal with will soon begin to overtake you. It will begin to control you whether you believe it or not. Okay, so another thing that I want to talk about is so when we talk about our emotions, they reflect our inward attitudes and our inward behavior. Remember what I said earlier when we talk about emotions themselves are not good or bad, but it's the actions that result from these emotions is the issue. And so when we act out certain ways, outwardly certain ways, then it's showing inwardly how we feel and what we are dwelling on. And so again, for example, let's take this for example. If you truly believe that God is sovereign and that he is all knowing and that he is in control of a situation, then you don't have to worry. You can exchange your worry and your anxiety for peace, even in the middle of a circumstance. When you truly believe that, when your emotions truly reflect that on the inside, if you truly believe those things, then you won't do certain things on the outwardly when you believe certain things inwardly. I hope you guys are following what I'm saying. So again, if we're in a situation where we have a intense fellowship, a negative discourse with somebody, but you truly believe that that person did not mean you any harm, if you believe that you know that person, who that person is intrinsically at their core, if you really believe that, then you're not going to act out negatively on that. But if you really don't trust that person, and if you really don't believe what that person is saying, and if you really believe that that person is intending you harm, then you're going to react in a way that reflects how you really feel on the inside. Even if you try to fake it for a little bit, you're not going to be able to fake it for very long. You're going to act on that. And so when we're looking at Ephesians 4:26, in the original language, it says, "Be ye wrathful, but do not sin." Okay, so "be ye" implies a just occasion or an opportunity. So it means that there are going to be times when your anger is justifiable. There are going to be times when you have a right to be angry. But the second part of that basically is saying, when we break that scripture down, Ephesians 4:26, it is saying, "Be ye angry." There are going to be times when you are justified in being upset, but don't miss the mark. But don't miss the mark. I want you to let that soak in. There are going to be times when you are justified for being upset, but do not miss the mark. Do not sin. And so another scripture that I have is Philippians 3:14. When it talks about pressing towards the mark, I want you to go back and read that in your spare time. But what I'm saying and how I'm tying that in together is saying there are going to be times when you are justified in being angry, but do not miss the mark. And what that is saying is, don't get so distracted by trying to justify your anger that you miss your turn or that you miss your mark. That's why they tell you to not text and drive. Don't do that, especially when you're angry, or to wait a minute if you're angry with a situation before you actually respond to that situation, to make sure that you are dealing with the situation appropriately and that you don't overreact or that you don't say things that you cannot take back. So that is so important. And so we've got to stop letting everything provoke us to do things that we may eventually regret. And that's basically the point that I'm getting to, is do not allow these situations and these things to make you do things that are going to cause you to miss the mark. I know that you are a goal-oriented person, or you probably wouldn't even be watching this video. You wouldn't be a part of the group. And so you don't want to allow your emotions to get the best of you to where they cause you to consistently miss the mark, because they're causing you to do things that will cause you to regret or cause you to wish you could take it back, or do things that you cannot undo. And so that's what I want you guys to get today. Okay, and so one of the things that I want to leave you with is a story, and I thought about it as I was praying over this, and as I was pulling all this stuff together. And it goes back, and I taught on this a little while back, but there was a time at my child care center that I own and operate, there was a smoke alarm that went off. And so we have the really heavy duty smoke detectors, because we're mandated by the state to have those in the child care center. And so my first reaction, of course, was going to be fear, because we weren't having a fire drill, so it wasn't scheduled or anything like that. So when I heard the smoke alarm go off, we have a pretty big building. So when I heard the smoke alarm go off, my first reaction was that of fear, because, it just makes sense because my emotion was fear, because there's an alarm going off and we have a building full of small children that we would have to try to evacuate and try to see what's going on. And, who knows what's going on, because that's the alarm's job, is to notify me when something is wrong. And so the only problem with that is that there was actually no fire. There was no fire. What happened was, one of the kids, we have the little pull system. So like we do the little pull thing. So whenever there's an alarm, you just pull the alarm down. Well, what happened was one of the kids went by and pulled the alarm down. There was no fire, but my reaction was fear. And if I would have acted on my fear instead of remaining calm and actually seeing what was happening there, I probably would have spent a lot of time. We would have probably tried to evacuate the whole building, getting the kids up, getting them out. You know what I'm saying? The fire department comes down and they're spending time here where there is actually no real fire. And that takes them away from places where there actually may be a real emergency. All because I did not take time to slow down and evaluate the validity or evaluate what was really going on based on that alarm. You know what I'm saying? So again, I had to compare the noise, the alarm that I was hearing, to what the reality was. I hope you guys are following this. But I had to compare the noise that had distracted me from the work I was doing at my desk to what the actual reality was. Although there was an alarm, there was no real fire. Someone had pulled the plug down. And so a lot of times there are situations that we will jump to conclusions. And even though there's an alarm, there's noise, there's a situation, there's no real emergency. And so we've got to ask ourselves, when we are experiencing high emotions, we've got to first examine them, examine what we're feeling. And secondly, we've got to ask questions. What do I know to be true about this situation? Yes, there was an alarm, but do I know at the core of it, do I know that there's a real fire taking place? Do I know that there's a real emergency? And again, another part of that is, do I believe what I know? And then do I accept what I believe? The third thing is, I want you to gather the facts that our feelings are responding to. Gather the facts. Let me try to break that down. I wish I could say that a little bit better. But gather the facts that our feelings are responding to. So again, we're talking about alarms going off in our life, but is there a real emergency? Be ye angry, but sin not. Again, there are times when we are justified in feeling that way. So just like the smoke alarm was real, our feelings are real, but we need to make sure they are the correct indicators to be acting on. Okay? So it's okay to feel the emotion, but be careful when we choose to act on it, because there are times when we do things that we're not able to undo. So that is all that I have to say about that today. And I hope that that makes sense. I hope that it said something that could really help you through your emotions when you're feeling these emotions, especially high emotions, and realize that your feelings are valid, but always take the time to slow down and kind of remove yourself from the situation to make sure you gather the facts around what you're really feeling. Make sure that there's really a situation there before you decide to act and uproot and say things and make commentary and give a response, because it may not be as bad as you think it is when you take time to really gather the facts around what is happening in that situation. So yeah, I hope that makes sense, guys. So if you are not a part of our mentor group, you can actually join by going to rachellproctor.com/finish strong, and you can actually enter your name and email and confirm that you want to be added to our group, and you will be added. And you can actually get an invitation to join the Facebook group and all that good stuff too. So I won't hold you guys up any longer, but again, I hope this helped you. Please share this video with someone that you know could use this information. And yeah, that is all. Oh yeah, if you have not downloaded the Emerge Online Devotional app, you can also do that. That is the app that I created, and I send out daily inspirational messages, timeline graphics, devotionals, all that good stuff. You actually will be able to get and access the replays to all these videos through the app. There's a Bible journal. all sorts of stuff that's in there that's really great to kind of keep you motivated and inspired throughout your day. And this month, which we're in the month of November 2006 at the time of this taping, we are talking about wisdom. We're talking about wisdom. And so all this month, everything that I send out as far as devotionals and timeline graphics will have to do with seeking the wisdom of God. All right, guys. Well, that app is available for free in the App Store and the Google Play Store. So yeah, there we go. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to run and upload this video really quick so I can get it out to y'all. And I'll be chatting with y'all again soon. Peace out.